I'm not. I guess I almost had to give you guys a movie review, which is basically called World War Z. World War Z, if that's how you pronounce it. The movie is basically starred and known as Brad Pitt, who basically basically played in the movie. He takes on the role as a character, basically as one of the main protagonists, basically in this movie, who's known as Mr. Lane. I think his name is Jerry Lane, or no, I think his name is Gerald Lane. So what is this movie basically really all about? Well, basically Gerald Lane is basically the guy. He wants to spend time with his family. He used to work for a basically a high government agency place. I would definitely say called the UN. If you know what is the UN, UN is supposed to do. They're pretty much are basically our United Nations, basically around basically in the entire world when it comes to Italy, Israel, the United States, Japan, China, all those different other countries. You probably get what I'm saying here and stuff like that, because he's basically been selected to basically be on the UN to tackle on some dangerous things that's basically what he's supposed to do. Now I don't know what actually that he does. I'm assuming that he's probably just a doctor, I guess, or something like that. And he has done some really lot of dangerous things basically in the past that he really has done. He kind of basically kind of walked out of his job, and the reason why he did that because he wants to spend time with his family, because that's mainly what he wants to do and stuff like that. So anyways, he was basically doing making breakfast, making pancakes for his kids and stuff like that. That's basically what he was doing. And then I heard something unusual, based what's happening based on the news. Because usually we don't hear this based on the news really all that often. Called martial law. Martial law is basically that we're supposed to stay home and we cannot go out or anything like that. And that means we have to stay home and we cannot do anything or anything like that. If the government has declared a martial law, then we have to obey that. If we obstruct it, then we get arrested and then we go to jail and stuff like that, and all those other stuff like that. I think that's what martial law definitely means and stuff like that. And basically, they were about to basically go somewhere else and stuff like that. This basically happened in New Jersey, but then all of a sudden there was this explosion happen in the background. But then there was like something that you don't see, basically in a way that is not normal. It's not normal, and you see like humans attacking humans or something like that. It's kind of like they're eating each other. That's basically what they're doing. If you think about it, when the beginning of the start of this movie, you probably basically would understand the things basically what goes on basically with life and stuff like that, basically with life. When when the guy basically when I excuse me when Gerald basically was up when he's working with this young scientist kind of guy and stuff like that, he basically made a pretty good statement, which I definitely do think is very very good. What he says that life is like a serial killer. In a way, yes, that's definitely is very very true because it really actually is. Why is life is a serial killer? Because it's just basically the way the life it really actually is. The way it shows the mental institution based of an animal or based of a person to antagonize. It's kind of like a free for all, basically like an open world PvP world, basically kind of like a world, basically like a world like it has no restrictions or anything like that. Anything can personally that can really can go. And sometimes there's animals that can show compassion. There's sometimes animals cannot show compassion for whatsoever at all. That's kind of like it's kind of like if you were to approach to a wild lion, a wild animal, you don't want to do that because you don't know that wild lion is going to come after you because it has killer instinct because they have that instinct because that's what they have because they was not raised and born and raised basically like in a home. If I had a lion basically in my apartment, I'd probably get the lion probably taken away, and then them would probably question me and say like, where did you get it at? Why did you have it? Why did you take care of it? And stuff like that. Because I'm supposed to have a license, a certified license to have that kind of animal. But even though also because of that, it also will be a danger to the public also as well too, and that is not a good thing also as well too because that's why when you separate from humans to wild animals, separate humans to wild animals, usually they go to their habitat, we go in our habitat, and that's basically what we definitely do. But this is not really basically the case basically when it comes to World War Z. World War Z, it's a completely different more of a habitat that we're seeing basically in this introducing of this new world of an era of a new species being born, or I would say, actually not basically being born, but basically a horrific of species. I would definitely say, aka as walking zombies or running zombies, wherever you want a person that you want to call them, or you want to call them the undead, or you want a person that you basically want to call them. That's kind of like basically like World of Warcraft. The Banshee Queen, Sylvanas, that she commands the undead because she's the queen of the damned. That's what she really actually is. She helps her people of the undead. That's what she does and stuff like that. And that's what she does. And because her people cannot procreate, because it would be impossible because they can't give birth or anything like that. There's no way that could happen and stuff like that. Now, to be honest with you, I definitely will say this also well too. Basically, the movie does not really does not really clarify really that much, basically much of an intuition based of their attentions based into the movie, that how did the viruses have basically started, how did really basically really happen. I will go back to basically what I said. Go back to what I said. If you think about this, if you watch a movie from Old Yeller, Old Yeller the movie, if you probably know exactly what I'm talking about, part of close to the end of the movie, where Old Yeller basically had to kill the wolf because he had to do it just basically to protect the family. But then all of a sudden, Old Yeller got affected and he was acting irrational, and basically he really basically was. What that basically means is that he has rabies because you can tell by the foam on his mouth because Old Yeller was not like himself because he really wasn't not like himself. So they had to do, they had no other choice. Basically, the boy, I would say the young man, basically for himself, he had to put the dog down because he had no other choice because that's basically what he had to do and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of really sad. If you think about it, it's kind of like a similar to basically a effect basic of that. It's kind of like we've been affected by the rabies, and now we're affecting others also as well too, and we're attacking basic others also as well too, and that's what it feels like. If one person get affected, then another person get affected, another person get affected, another person get affected. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. That's kind of like basically what happened back then, back in the early 2020s, when the whole start of the whole world was about to collapse. Basically, the pandemic and stuff like that, the COVID era and stuff like that. Basically, I remember basically all that. I remember the whole world was basically going to hell and stuff like that, and it was crazy. It really was and stuff like that. People were saying like, "Oh my God, this is like the end of the world" and stuff like that, and basically stuff like that, and basically the Bible says like stuff like that. But I mean, to be honest with you, nobody just really doesn't know that or anything like that. Nobody really basically really definitely doesn't notice. But I definitely would say here that stuff like this, basically in a world like this, it could probably basically could happen. It probably basically could. It could basically could happen. If you look at COVID, basically, as for example, it's a great example. It could pretty much can happen a lot more different and lot more different in ways that we may not really basically understand, that we may not basically really definitely know. Because how could we stop COVID? How could we stop it? To be honest, I really don't know because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a nerd or anything like that, or anything like that. That's pretty much basically left to the government to basically for them to decide, for them to do what they think that they really should that they really should do. They get the most powerful scientists basically in America or basically I will say around the world. There you have it. There you have it, and stuff like that. There's many theories about like how COVID spread it and stuff like that. There's many different theories and stuff like that. Nobody really does not know. They kind of pointed out like patient zero, like in the movie, like they show the parts of the movie, who was basically the very first patient, got affected, but there's no telling how that patient got affected. So nobody doesn't know. Nobody doesn't theoretically basically really know that question. But as I said before, if you go back to time, back in the early 2020s, it's kind of similar to basically all that. It's kind of similar to basically the COVID era, basically to the World War Z, and you put them together, and they have basically different realities and stuff like that. But this is just basically a new dawn of basically of something possibly it could possibly could happen. Would I be terrified? Yes, I'll be terrified. I really would. But would I be terrified of the COVID? In a way, yes, I'll be terrified of the COVID. I'll be afraid that I have the COVID, but I'll be very afraid that I can't be far away from my family, that where my family has to watch me and like I'm sitting like watching the like I'm in the bed, like I'm trying to rest and I'm trying to get healthy. That's basically what I'm trying to do. Hundreds, millions of people died all across the world. I mean, it was madness. It was crazy. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen in such time. And I promise you one thing for sure. I definitely do think that is definitely going to happen again. There's going to be some new affection. This basis is definitely going to happen, and it definitely will. If are we prepared to tackle on this problem? I don't think we're not prepared. I don't think we're not ready. I don't think we're not. Basically, World War Z, bases like this, the world was not prepared for this. They were not. They don't know where the source actually comes from because they have no idea. That's kind of like with COVID. They had no idea where the source come from. They had no idea, but only suspicious that they knew where the COVID basically come from was based from China because somehow the virus must have got loose or something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. So I don't ask because I hear this stuff based on the news, and some people will probably say, "Don't believe what the news tells you," and stuff like that, basically and stuff like that. I do think the movie was definitely was good. It really brought into a lot of good themes, a lot of good things, basically when it basically comes into the movie and basically actions. But one of my favorite quotes is basically into the movie that life is a serial killer. In a way, yes, that is very true because if you think about it, in a way, it really actually is. That's just the problem, and that's just basically of the way society is basically really right now. If you think why, like, why did it, why did the fox kill the chicken? It's pretty obvious because the fox needs the chicken because so the fox can basically like maybe like feed it to his young or basically like eat it for themselves because they have to feed. They have to. That's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. That's what they must do. That's what they think that they really should do. That's what they have to do. Just like a lion attacking an animal for basically a zebra or basically other different other species, like ants, basically like they'll take on almost anything. I'm not joking. These ants are like are like mad crazy. They will do anything. They will do anything just to get what they want, just to get food to whatever. If you feed them real life food, they'll take it. They don't care. They don't give a shit. They will take it. They will take it. If you feed them a gun, they will take it. I'm serious. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. If you feed them if you feed those things anything, they will take it. They will take it as delicious or nice or whatever that basically is and stuff like that. That's kind of like basically as animals and stuff like that. They will eat human food, but we shouldn't feed them that and stuff like that. But I think what I'm trying to say here is this. This is just the cycle of the way of nature really actually is. But when it comes to basically this movie, we're seeing a completely different new cycle basically into the movie. That's where basically what we're seeing here. And now we have to fight against it and stuff like that. I have to give this movie a 10 out of 10. It's definitely a very good movie. I love the story. I love the lore. I love the very good themes and stuff like that, and the very good quotes and stuff like that. And I think Piedmont did such a great job basically with this movie. I'm not the biggest fan of basically coming with Piedmont because in different other predictions of basically upcoming movies, I will say basically the last rolling of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was not gonna not be foreseen basically in the nearby future. It's kind of very sad. It's not really definitely going to happen because a lot of fans, including myself, want to see a rated R movie, and I definitely do agree with that. In a PG-13, I would basically be okay with that. That's something I would basically be okay with that. But that's something I really definitely don't want to see. But I do like the Michael Bay films, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. They are definitely good. They're kind of soft-hearted, basic kind of movies, but they're kind of like too much a kid-friendly basic kind of movies, if you know what I'm saying, because I don't think they're really or not really basically do that because I think Piedmont just wants to basically attract more a family audience to their viewers and stuff like that, and more or more older age people to basically for them. So I definitely do think that the movie is definitely is good. We'll see is a must watch. I definitely say like watch the movie for an open mind, but I definitely will say here, it may not be for you, it may not be for everyone, but I definitely will say it definitely will be good. And I will be watching also the other movies called Resident Evil, which they are a lot more better than World War Z in my opinion because they have more of an impact, or I would say graphic of nature, if you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But yeah. Anyways, that's it for this video. Tell me what you guys think. You guys like this movie? You guys don't like the movie? What's your guys' favorite thoughts basically in the movie? What's your guys' favorite themes basically? Favorite quotes and stuff like that? Do you think Brad Pitt did a great job? I definitely do think he did. Give it a rated 10 out of 10. But yeah, anyways, I'm no expense. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Hope you guys have a one day. Don't forget to subscribe. Please consider subscribing. Place a like button, give me a thumbs up, or give me a thumbs down. Doesn't matter to me. And please leave a comment down below. Anyways, I love you guys. Take care. I hope you have a long day. I'll see you guys there. Take care.